Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. Great news, my replacement parts for my Avata 2 came in last night. I spent a little bit of time today making the repairs. I did document the whole process, so that video is actually going to be played right here as soon as I'm done yapping here in a few minutes. So far so good. The repair was relatively easy, and you'll see why. I didn't have to really dig in to do a whole lot. I didn't have to mess with the electronics. The bottom shell basically just comes off after a few screws and a little bit of scratching my head here and there just to make sure I didn't break anything. So bottom shell, if that's the part you break, relatively easy to fix and replace. I got it all put back together. I did a quick little functions check, if you will, in my backyard. So basically just took it off the ground about a foot or two. Did right 360s, left 360s, slid right, slid left, forward, backward, up, down, messed with the gimbal just to make sure everything at least seemed like it was functioning okay. Tomorrow, I'm going to charge the batteries up tonight. Tomorrow we're going to go out and do no kidding full check, and then fly around a little bit more and continue on this learning to fly FPV journey that you guys are on with me. So sit tight. This video shouldn't be too long. It should only be a few minutes because I'm going to kind of time lapse everything. I don't think you guys need to see me pull every single screw and put everything back together, but I'm going to chop it all up so you guys have a nice little product of seeing how my journey's going, and maybe it'll help somebody else. So sit back, stay tuned, watch me fix this thing, and then we're going to go fly tomorrow. Alright? Thanks. Alright guys, so here's the replacements I ordered from AliExpress. You can see it comes with the top frame, the bottom frame, the gimbal cage, and the 4 A-arm covers that cover up the motor wires. It's a very well made copy. Like I said, I'm almost confident these are not OEM DJI parts, but everything seems to match exactly like the ones that came off my factory DJI drone. So if you're gonna have to get replacement parts, I would recommend ordering these, and I will put a link in the description on where I ordered these from. Alright guys, so step one, make sure your battery is removed from your drone. I'm removing the props. I already pulled the prop screws out, so here's just me physically removing the props off of the drone. So as you can see here, here's the damage caused by my collision that cracked that A-arm. Alright, so where I started was I removed these 8 bottom screws. Those 2 in the middle bottom actually have like a glue topper. I don't know if that's like something that DJI put in there as like an anti-tamper type of thing, but it was kind of a pain to actually scrape off before I could remove the screws. Alright, so for this next step, I am going to remove the motors from the motor mounts. Alright, now that the first mount is done, I'm going to time lapse the other 3. Alright, next step I'm going to do is there's one of 2 side screws. There's one on this side that I'm removing now, and in the next clip you'll see one that's on the exact opposite side that I'm removing. So on the other side there is a sticker. It's like their decibel rating sticker. DJI does this thing where they like to hide screws underneath either labels or stickers. And to some folks it may not matter. they just pull them off. For me, I like to keep them intact, so I do my very best to try to be as delicate as I can and keep those stickers or labels looking fresh. So now we're inside the battery compartment. There's actually 3 separate screws in here, and each one of them is hidden underneath a label. So here's the first one. This one's relatively easy to get to. Just peel up the sticker, and it's just right there looking up at you. Alright, so these next 2, there's one on either side, and you're going to see me remove both of these, but they're underneath these labels. Now these are a little bit more of a pain to get to, mostly just because of the angle. The screw's a little bit deeper in than that one that's on the bottom is, and trying to get the right angle with your tools in there is very, very difficult without stripping out the screw. Now, I do not have a low profile style wrench that would help me get these out. So I did kind of have to finagle, and you'll see me moving the drone around a lot, but you can pick up one of these low profile type of wrenches or 90-degree screwdriver bit adapters for pretty cheap. I've already got one ordered on Amazon, but it would have made life easier, but I still was able to manage. And now for the right side. The right side for me was a little bit easier than the left. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have this similar issue, right versus left. I don't think it really matters. I think it's just more of a personal struggle. The screws are both at the exact same location, mirror each other. I just had more success on the right side than I did on the left. Alright, so for this next step, we need to remove those channel covers on the lower A-arms. Alright, so the next thing we have to do is pop off these A-arm covers. The key is, especially for the backs, you have to remove those 2 screws from the battery compartment on the sides in order to remove the rear A-arm covers. Once those A-arm covers are off, mine just kind of unclip really easy. I didn't really have to use any tools to kind of pop out any clips. It just came out relatively easy. Now with the bottom cover off, I'm inspecting for any damage that may have been caused on my collision. I'm just looking to see if the wires, if there's any kinks, any cracks, anything to any of the pieces that I can see visually that look like they may have been compromised. Now once that's done, you can tell by looking at the original piece what the replacement is. The original has some of these little foam vibration inserts. I'm going to remove those and just replace them exactly where, side by side, pull them off one at a time and place them exactly where they belong. That way I ensure that continuity, that they're back where they need to be and they're doing the job in which they're designed for. So as you can see here, I forgot to put the lens covers on for the landing sensors. So I pulled the bottom back off, and what I'm using here is just some Gorilla Glue 2-part epoxy. The Gorilla Glue bottle itself, the tip had a very wide nozzle and there's a bunch coming out. So what I did was I just put it on a paper plate, mixed it up there, and now I'm using a toothpick just to put just enough amount on. That way none of the glue squeezes out and can compromise that sensor's ability to detect the ground the way it's supposed to. So continuing back on with the reassembly. Now the slot on the side there that you can see that keeps that has the micro SD and the USB-C connector, there's that piece of foam that's there and it keeps kind of getting in my way. Even though I put it back in the exact same place, just make sure that that vibration foam is not blocking up either your USB connection or your micro SD card slot. Alright, so now we're getting back into the actual reassembly. I started with the side screws. You can kind of really start wherever you want. This is just what made sense to me in my brain. So I'm sure there's maybe a better path. I don't really think it matters that much. There are a few things that you'll see, a couple mistakes I make down the road. I'll make sure I highlight those just as food for thought moving forward. But for the most part, reassembly is just whatever method you really decide to choose on. Alright, so the next step that I did is I reinstalled the 8 bottom screws. I made sure that I separated the 2 screws that had that security glue on them, and I put those back in the same holes just in case I decide to put some super glue on them as well, but I don't think I'm going to. Alright, and then I'm going to roll a time lapse for the next 7 screws. Alright, so here's one of the screw ups that I was talking about. So what you'll see me do here is reinstall the motors onto the motor mounts. Now, I'm sure you can do it just the way I'm doing it here. But I will say that the front motors, once they were installed, when I tried to install the A-arm wire covers, the front motors were getting in my way to make sure that those things actually seated and snapped in properly. I'm sure if other people can probably do it. It was just giving me fits. So I decided to take the motors back off, put the A-arms on, and then put the motors back on. If I do this repair moving forward again, I will probably hold off installing all of the motors to the motor mounts until all the A-arm frame covers are on. Alright, I'm going to roll another time lapse of me installing these motors. Alright, now that the motors are installed, you'll see me uninstall the fronts here again. I'm going to start with the backs. This is not difficult, but it wasn't easy. It just takes some finagling to make sure you get them all in the right place. And then once you start snapping them, go back around several times and make sure all that the the little tabs actually connect, because as you connect one on the front, one in the back will pop off. So you have to kind of work your way around the triangle, if you will, to make sure everything's seated properly. So now that reassembly is almost complete, I have a few more screws. I'm going to put a battery in and go through just the normal startup sequence. Make sure everything lights up, sounds, beeps, twitches, the way it normally does before I press any further. Alright, so the startup sequence looked right. Everything beeped. The gimbal moved the way it's supposed to. The motors twitched. So I'm happy with that. Now we're going to press forward. So the next thing I'm going to start to install is the props. Now if you look at the props here, you'll see that there are two little nipples that stick out. The props only go on one way. There are 4 holes on the top of the motor. 2 are screw holes, 2 are those guide holes. Make sure the nipples that stick out, there's 2, they go in the smaller holes. The screws will actually go into the bigger holes. With the screws as well, you don't want to over tighten because that can damage your motor. I went back and forth. I installed one and then installed the other, and I went back through it. I made sure that they were finger tight and then just a little bit more. I did use a little bit of blue Loctite to make sure that these screws don't back their way out. Blue Loctite is the one you want to use. Alright, the red Loctite is permanent, where the blue Loctite is removable. Alright, so I saved the worst for last, and worst is a loose term. This was still a relatively easy fix. These screws were just more of a pain in the butt than the rest. Alright guys, drone is back for the test flight. Let's see, let's power it up. I don't have much of a battery, but let's just see how everything starts to look. Alright guys, as you can see, the Avata 2 flew perfectly. It did have no complaints. I was a little curious when I actually started flying it, because they're on the opposite side of where I hit, probably from the impact. There are 2 like stress marks from where the chassis had kind of probably twisted, or when after it impacted the post, maybe impacted the ground, that I thought could definitely be problems. Like they could cause me some problems down the road. They didn't seem to be. It didn't seem to have any problems whatsoever. So I'm going to hold off on replacing the top frame for now. And if it becomes an issue down the road, I still have those parts. And the part that I pulled off that was broken, it was just a crack. I applied some super glue to it, and it seems to be holding up pretty well. So we'll see. You know, I have that extra piece just in case. Now, I didn't do a fit check to make sure that the alignment for the motors and everything were still right. I just put some glue on it. I've got it stashed with, you know, my bucket of spare parts in case I crash again. I have it. But it was, like I said, it was relatively cheap repair. I ended up buying the whole kit, which I think I said like was around $50, but I think you can buy just the bottom frame or just the top frame, individual pieces for like 15, 20 bucks. So I don't know if I'm going to use that other piece, but I have it in a pinch in case I do need it. Like I said, it was a relatively easy repair to do. Um, but for those out there that are looking to do any type of repairs, stay within your comfort zone. All right. If you don't know how to solder, don't solder parts. If you're not that comfortable, doing those things, take it somewhere else. Let somebody else do it. Send it away. Let DJI repair it, or any of the repair shops. There are other companies out there that do repairs that are outside of um, DJI, like Ohio Drone Repair. There's another one. The guy, he does a lot of reviews for DJI stuff. I'll put the link of their description in there too. I think they do repairs, but they also do sales. And then there's a couple others. I'll link some down in the bottom that do repairs as well. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't get any cuts. But being in the community, you see a lot of the same companies' names pop up, and usually that's a good sign. They're a little bit more reputable. So, again, thanks for sticking with me. I'm going to try to fly this week and get into part 3. I think I'm going to switch it to manual mode. All right, I think I've done what I can do, I think, in normal and sport mode. Um, and now it's just kind of getting redundant, just flying in figure eights and doing the same thing. So I think I'm going to switch over to manual mode. So that'll be something for you guys to look forward to in the next video. All right. Thanks for coming along with this journey. Hopefully we get this channel to grow. Send it to your friends. Annoy them, spam them. I don't care. They can send me hate messages. All right. Thanks for sticking with me. This is Tim, the Drone Goon, out.